Of course, no introduction needed. We have Dr. Sailesh Rao, the founder and the executive director of Climate Healers, a system specialist with a PhD in electrical engineering from Stanford University. We know he's been working on the internet communications, already changed the world, and now making a fixture in our planet and to resolve the crises and environmental crisis that we have. I'm going to pass it over quite briefly, and let's hear the words of wisdom and how to fix our planet.
Thank you, Krishna. We can bring Jamin up as well. So I wanted to talk to you today about the making of a Planet B food system. And this is work that Jamin and I started working on the urgency of Planet B sometime in March of this year. And we started, this was mainly focused on getting a press conference going. And then from the press conference, it was, how do you actually implement something? So we wrote a paper about it, and it's now going through the review process. It's called Planet B, a poly solution for the planetary poly crisis emergency. And this paper is going to be published in the MBPI Journal of Sustainability. It's almost all the reviews are done. And so we just have one last review that needs to go through, which we have addressed. So this emergency declaration was done at the AWA summit in late May. Okay. But prior to that, Jamin and I had attended the Global Earth Repair Convergence from May 7th through 11th. And there we met Rick Lucas, who had been running the Live Aid program. He's run a lot of international huge events. So we spoke to him about our idea of having a declaration of emergency and then implementing a food system solution for Planet B as an example to show what it could be. And we were talking about doing it in Seattle at that time, if I recall correctly. And it was called Hungerless in Seattle. So that's what Jamin had wanted to call it. And Rick said, why don't you do it in Port Townsend? So, which is right here, so it's a smaller city. And so we said, okay, let's think about doing that. And that's how it became Together Around Food. It became Hungerless in Port Townsend, and then we changed the name Together Around Food in Port Townsend. Now, am I not sharing anymore?
Not at the moment.
That's interesting. All right. Let me share. All right. So from the Global Earth Repair Convergence, we moved to, well, the planet poly crisis. Why is this an emergency? There are 26 different crises that we have a taxonomy listing all of them. 7 ecological crises, starting with mass extinction. They are listed in the order of importance. Mass extinction, chemical plastic pollution, disruption of nutrient cycles, planetary overheating, ecosystem collapse, freshwater depletion, ocean acidification, whole bunch of them. And then personal crises, we have 6 of them listed there. Selfishness, greed, and apathy, chronic disease epidemics, mental health crisis, obesity epidemic, excessive drug and alcohol use, and maladaptive worldviews. 7 institutional crises. Institutional miseducation is the number 1 there. Runaway animal agriculture, runaway commercial fishing, endless growth economics, endless war, runaway artificial intelligence, and runaway gene editing. And finally, 6 social crises. Chronic malnutrition. So we lumped both hunger and malnutrition together because most people in America, 95% of the people in America, don't get enough fiber in their diets. They may get enough calories, but not enough fiber. So malnutrition is widespread in the world. And so colonialism 2.0, slavery 2.0, public health deterioration, and breakdown of communities and rising inequality. And so you can look at these crises and you realize how urgent it is. And we said, we are all going to die if we don't leave this planet the way the current system is operating. Okay. And so I seem, the analogy I use is a house on fire. And this happens to be my house that caught fire. So I have a picture of it because the policeman who came to put out the fire realized he couldn't do anything about it. And he started taking photos. So that's why I have these. And this is from 1993, and it's my car that caught fire. And I remember when my house caught fire, my only interest was getting my children out of the house. So getting my children safe. Life is the only thing that I was concerned about. Nothing else. Not material stuff. None of the other things mattered anymore. So it was just life that mattered. And in the current situation, just looking at the ecological crisis, you can see how fast it's progressing. In 2009, the Stockholm Resilience Center had said there were 3 planetary boundary transgressions in the life support systems of our planet. And it became 4 transgressions in 2015, 6 transgressions in 2023, and the latest is 7 transgressions. So 7 boundaries have been crossed in the life support systems of our planet. Now, what this means is that the Earth has 7 major diseases. You can think of it that way, because the life support systems are systems that are ensuring that life can thrive on the planet. Now, we have 12 life support systems in our bodies, and we have a circulatory system, a digestive system, an immune system, and a endocrine system, you name it. So there are 12 systems in our body. And if any one system fails, it can bring down all the other systems, and that's called death. It's called catastrophic system failure. And death just means that you cannot put the systems back together again the way it was. Your cells have to die off and go off and become something else, and eventually maybe another living system is born out of that, okay? Now, when you think of a planet doing that, when you have 7 life support systems of the planet that are outside the safe zone, and if you have any collapse of one of these systems, it is literally millions of years before the planet can figure out another way of sustaining life, or the planet may just give up, okay? So we are in a very critical situation because 2 of the systems have been rated as high risk of destabilizing the life support systems of our planet. And the 2 of the systems are species, transgression of the biosphere integrity planetary boundary, and chemical pollution. So let me give you statistics on the biosphere integrity planetary boundary. This shows you how much food is eaten by human beings, farmed animals, and wild land mammals. So I'm looking at all the food eaten by land mammals. And so the statistic is that for every 100 plates of food that land mammals are extracting from the planet, humans are eating 18 plates of food, farmed animals are eating 81 plates of food, and wild land mammals are eating exactly 1 plate of food. So which means all the elephants, all the tigers, all the hippos, all the rhinos, all the giraffes, all the, you name it, wolves, rats, mice, all put together have to share that 1 plate. Now, the first time I calculated this back in 2014, for every 100 plates of food, land mammals had access to 3 plates of food. Now it's down to 1 in 12 years. Okay. This is because the animal agriculture industry has been growing. So our farmed animals are eating more and more and more. And when they want more food, they go and get it from the wild land mammals first. So from 3, it's gone down to 1 in exactly 12 years. If this is not a reason for alarm, I don't know what is. We have to desperately bring them back. Okay? Bring them back and give them the food they need. And the next one that's also possibly beyond the point of no return is chemical pollution. And here's a statistic on that. For every human being, we are extracting 164 times our weight in materials and 440 times our weight in waste. We are putting 440 times our waste in weight. So it's as if for every human being, there are 30 elephants worth of chemical pollution that's being put into the environment. And this chemical pollution does not go away. This is every year. So it accumulates year after year after year, and it's stressing the life support systems of the planet every year. Basically, it goes and pollutes the waters, and then the trees have to go and suck it up and store it in their trunks. And the trees are getting saturated, and we are cutting down the trees are burning and sending it back up into the atmosphere. So if you look at the system, there's a whole lot of turmoil going on as a result of all this chemical pollution. Now let's look at the role of food systems in this. There was a paper written in 2017 saying that the food system is mainly responsible for all the planetary boundary transgressions as of those years, as of 2017, except for climate change. So they were pretending it was not because of climate change. I say it's pretending because in reality, if you look at the land use, and if you start accounting for land use properly, it is the leading cause of climate change also. But the system has been framing it as not the leading cause of climate change, and it's just fossil fuels, and therefore let's all go buy electric cars and solar panels and grow the economy. So that's why the media is focused on climate change alone. And I'll be talking about this on Monday at Simonics, special on what every parent needs to know right now. Okay. So if you look at how we use the earth, land use, it screams at us that you have to eliminate farmed animal use because of the land area of the planet. If you take all the land use for cities, railroads, highways, all put together, it's exactly 1% of the land area of the planet. 19% is unused land, deserts and mountains. 22% is monocultured trees. Now, the UN and World Economic Forum, they are fond of saying we have 31% of the land covered by forests. What they really mean is majority of it is monocultured trees, and only 9% is original forests. Okay, and even that 9%, we have been sort of eating into them, chopping them, doing a buzz cut on the forests because we want to give that land to the farmed animals for grazing. And we do a buzz cut and leave 10% of the trees behind in any 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer grid so that we can still claim it's a forest. Because that's the UN definition of a forest, any area with 10% tree cover. Now, 37% of the land is used for just grazing farmed animals, and half the cropland output is also going to feed farmed animals. So totally, they're using 43% of the land area of the planet. And our farmed animals are giving us 12% of the food we eat in terms of dry weight. Okay? 85% of the food we eat is already coming from plants, and the remaining 3% comes from the ocean. So this is why when you look at this, you immediately realize that going vegan can address a lot of our problems. So in a vegan world, you can return 40% of the land approximately back to nature. And all we have to do is to go from 85% to 100%. Now, a vegan world cannot be instantiated in Planet A. That's the problem we are facing because Planet A, the current operating system, is built on foundational myths. Myth is really a lie. It's a foundational lies. So when you build systems on lies, that system is not stable. It's going to collapse, okay? Because the system is not in alignment with nature. So the 7 lies, the 7 myths on Planet A This protein is only found in animal foods. Calcium is only found in dairy foods. Endless growth is the master objective. Consumption and commodification is our social logic. And we are separate from nature and we are superior to all other beings in nature. And all of our ecological problems are caused by just fossil fuels. That's another lie that we tell ourselves. And finally, for every environmental problem we face, there is a technological solution coming. That's another lie we tell ourselves. This is why we keep continuing Planet A. Okay. So to solve the problem, to really create a vegan world, we have to build a new operating system, a new system that is founded on the truths, on axioms. Axioms are empirically verified truths. Number one is axiom A is interdependence of all life. And the second is non-violence, zero animal exploitation. I put that in there so that it gets to a vegan world. And I can now discuss with you, because most people will tell you, you really don't have to go fully vegan. You can still eat once a week or twice a week meat and dairy, and that will be fine. Now, my response to that is, what is the system in which it's possible? Are we still retaining all the myths or some of the myths? Or which of the myths do you want to retain? And once you know it's a lie, why do you want to build anything on a lie? Why would you transform a system, create a new system, and install a bunch of lies in it? So this is why I say we have no choice but to go to zero animal exploitation. And then sufficiency over growth. We don't need to grow anymore. We have reached the end of how much we can grow, and we can now create sufficiency. And we can design a system based on honesty and humility. So we are here as a caretaker species, and we are not superior to all the other species. We are just another species. And we are here to take care of them. And axiom E is universal provisioning within planetary limits. We have plenty of food on the planet, so we should be able to feed everybody healthy food. So, and then distributed participatory governance, and then finally technology subordinated to life. Okay? So these are the axioms on which we built Planet B. And I wrote a book about this last year, and I called it There is a Planet B. And this year I wrote a more detailed guide to Planet B. And both of these you can download from the Climate Healers website for free, the PDFs. Now, every system has to have a goal. So systems are based on goals, and then you optimize based on the goals. So I took this from the website. For the goal of Planet A, the operating system of Planet A, is to maximize resource flow at minimum apparent cost. So this is why we're constantly extracting and holding, extracting and holding. So this extract and hold as the goal of the operating system creates a system that is completely in opposition to the life support systems of our planet. So if you want a system that's in alignment with the life support systems of our planet, you have to build a goal of planetary health and world peace. So achieve world peace and planetary health. That's the goal of Planet B. Then within that, within the operating system, you have food system. The food system on Planet A, the goal is to provide the most exotic food to the richest person at any time. And that's why hardly anyone is getting all the nutrition they need. Even the richest people are not getting it. Okay? They're also suffering. Instead, we say a food system should be such that it ensures every human being has access to complete nutrition. And if that's the goal, we can design a system for that goal, and you can actually implement it because we have plenty of nutrition available on the planet to do that. The goal of the education system on Planet A is designed for industrial economy and teaching compliance and measuring memorization skills. It's basically how do you extract and hold? That's what it's teaching. And the education system on Planet B is designed for critical thinking and systems literacy. So because we are training people to become caretakers of the planet. So similarly, we have one for the healthcare system, we have one for the governance system. So all the systems, you can look at the current operating system, what it's doing, and what the Planet B system should be doing. And we can design goals. Now I'm just going to focus on the food system. So to implement an example of the Planet B food system, we did this Together Around Food event in Jefferson County, Washington, from June 20th to July 4th. Now, when we started, we didn't have much idea how we were going to do this. Okay, we were just running around desperately putting out fires one after the other. And then, but step by step, implementing things so that we can get to some sort of order. And I have to tell you, the first 2 meals were a bit chaotic, but then I saw everything click and come together. It was beautiful to watch it happen. The goal of Together Around Food, the goal of the food system was, and especially this Together Around Food pilot that we did, was to first show that you can eliminate hunger and malnutrition. It doesn't take much to do that. Because in Planet B food system, every person deserves access to nourishing food regardless of income, circumstance, or background. Food is a basic human right and a shared community responsibility. When I say food, I'm talking about nourishing food. Healthy food should be basically available to everybody for free. Yeah. Second goal is to improve human health. And we wanted to see if we can do this over 15 days and show that we have improved human health. So this is why we used whole food plant-based nutrition. So it's completely whole food plant-based nutrition because it's been shown to support prevention and reversal of many chronic diseases while improving quality of life. Okay? So that was the second goal. The third goal was to strengthen community. We wanted people to have meals together. So there was a certain time, it was 1 hour for lunch, 1 hour for dinner, 1 hour for 1.5 hours for breakfast. And then we had a talk after dinner. So we structured it like that so that people come and they have meals together. And we wanted to see, does that improve community, strengthen community? The fourth goal was to accelerate the plant-based transition. Because a lot of people want to go vegan, but they don't know how. So we said, okay, let's show you how to do it. Let's show you, what a weekly menu look like. And what, here are all the recipes that you can use. And how, when you cook together, whether you cook for 4 people or for 100 people, you're putting the same ingredients at the same time. It's not very different, right? So when you cook together, you can basically tap into each other's time, and so that not one person has to do all the work. Not everybody has to do all the work, right? So a few people are doing all the work. So the cooking team that who did it for 15 days, I have to tell you, they gave their life to this. They really slaved in the kitchen for making this happen. And I'm tremendously grateful to the Loving Hut team for making that happen. But by cooking together, we support this global shift because not everybody is an awesome chef. But there are some people who love to cook. And in a community, you'll always find some people who love to cook. That's their way they want to serve the community. Some people want to chop vegetables. Some people want to serve. So if you find enough volunteers, you can create this community-based food system. Instead of just volunteering in your own kitchen, volunteer in a community kitchen. Suddenly you have access to this new food system and you do that. And we want to support local food systems. We want to show at the end that everything we did, we bought locally from local farmers and at the local co-op so that they could continue going forward. Okay, so it makes it resilience. And finally, it is, of course, to restore planetary health, to show that we can do this. If we can do this in one place, we can do it anywhere. So it's not that hard to do it anywhere. So that's what we wanted to establish at the end of the 15-day program. Now, did we accomplish this? I'll let Jamin also talk about that later, but it was awesome. When we started, we were giving out maybe 100 meals a day. And towards the end, it was packed. On the last day, there were lines going out the door. And people were, the community was coming together. People were getting healthier. So we have biomarkers that show that people's cholesterol levels dropped. And people were feeling better. They lost all their arthritic pains. So There are a couple of pictures of that. So I'm only showing pictures that I took. And there was a local participant who was taking photos of us and turning that into caricatures through AI at the local library. And he was putting all these pictures up to show. And by the end, the whole wall was covered with photos. And, Marlene, I have said, if people can eat Marlene's food, the whole world will be vegan. I'm absolutely convinced of that. So Marlene is a magician at creating food that looks great, that tastes great, that has the right texture, and that's satisfying, is satiating. And people go back and you don't need to eat anything else, once you eat this. So here's one lunch, I think. This was lunch. This is another lunch. So you can distinguish between lunch and breakfast and dinner, because dinner has dessert with it. So you can see this plate had dessert accompanying it. And these are two of the local participants, became really good friends of ours. They're wearing Rebecca's t-shirt showing the land use change, how we are using land on the earth. It's Robin and Annie. That's all I had to share. If you have anything more to add, Jamin, go for it.
Thank you, Sailesh, and hello, everyone. Great to see you all. What a awesome presentation, Sailesh, and it's been a real honor working with you very intensively over the past several months. In fact, in January, I sent a big, huge 63-page proposal to Sailesh, and he digested it, said, wow, this is awesome. And so we started meeting in early February, and we literally met on Zoom every single day, 7 days a week for the next several months. And then, as Sailesh mentioned, we went to the Global Earth Repair Convergence in Port Townsend, Washington, also in Jefferson County, the county seat, the biggest city by far in the county. And so we went there, as Sailesh mentioned, and then we went to the AVA conference in Toronto. And then we drove all the way from Toronto back west, all across the country, which was super cool. So anyway, we've been working very intensively on this for a long time. And so part of my original proposal was, let's bundle all the crises together into something called the poly crisis. And then what's the antidote to the poly crisis? The poly solution. So Sailesh presented a very nice taxonomy in order of the poly crisis. I had come up with a list of like 22 crises, but not really had them in a very good order. And then Sailesh, of course, with his genius as a systems engineer, put it all in order, added some crises, and hence we got the taxonomy that he showed earlier. I encourage everyone to study Sailesh's taxonomy about the poly crisis, because it really helps put things in order. Okay. And so then I was like a big proponent of, let's do a press conference. The world needs to hear Dr. Sailesh Rao proclaim, right? Declare a planetary poly crisis emergency, right? Now that's very, very important, because, and then put it in order. Say, here are all the crises in order, and now here's how we deal with them. So also, I'll show some slides in a couple of minutes about this. But the basic idea is to go from chaos to order, right? See, right now in the world today, you open up the newspaper, you turn on the radio, there's just problem after problem after problem, and it's just one big hodgepodge of problems. And what's our response to all this? Bury our head in the sand, right? Ignore it, go into denial, and focus on things we can control, like our own hoarding, as Sailesh mentioned. Extract and hoard, on the hypothesis that if you hoard enough, you and your family will be fine. And the rest of the world with that whole hodgepodge of problems, it's too much for me to deal with. I'm just going to focus on me and my family and, let the invisible hand of the market take care of it with electric cars and solar panels, all that Sailesh was talking about. So thanks for the laughter there. So how do we put this whole thing in order, right? So now I'll share some slides. I think I'm co-host, so I can do that. Okay, here we go. Okay. So the title of this slide deck, Veganism is a Planetary Emergency, Polycrisis, Meet Polysolution. So I talked about the hodgepodge, right? Here's a hodgepodge of tools. You can think of a hodgepodge of anything, but you look at that and it's disturbing. It's too much. I can't deal with it. So what do? We put our heads in the sand. Don't look at it. What's the solution? Order. We need to put things in order. And oops. Okay, if someone can take care of the, okay, very good. So the order that I propose, and I'll give a nice example of this, is bundling. Put things in a structure, put things in a bundle, right? And this applies both to problems and solutions. So Sailesh did a great job bundling the problems into the polycrisis. Now let's talk about solutions and how do we bundle the solutions into the polysolution. If somebody can be diligent on the waiting room, because and letting folks in, that'll help.
Yeah, don't worry about that. Yeah, just
okay. No, it's just that I can't advance the slides while there's someone on the screen there waiting. Okay, so I'm going to use. I was a corporate strategy manager at Microsoft, and so I learned a lot of things there. And one of them was the concept of bundling. So we're going to start with Microsoft Excel, and in my analogy, Microsoft Excel in 1990 is like veganism today. Right? Now, what do I mean by that? Well, both of them are great products, right? Excel, veganism, great products. But in 1990, Microsoft Excel had very little market share. Not very many people knew about it or were convinced that, hey, I should get this new software package and learn how to use it and all that. Sounds kind of like veganism. Wonderful product. We all know it. We're Microsoft, right? Hey, veganism's great. But how do we get veganism to the world, right? And so the answer for Microsoft at that time, and it's still true today, 36 years later, was bundling. So we took lonely little, sad little Excel with tiny little market share and put it into a bundle of Excel, Word, PowerPoint, Access. And what's really interesting, and then suddenly the market share of Excel exploded because the market share of Office exploded. It was bundled, and that actually created something totally new that no one had ever seen before. And we called it the integrated Office suite. And so people said, oh, if I just buy this one package, it'll be a complete puzzle, and I'll have all of my productivity software needs met. And it was just a runaway success. So we need to do something similar for veganism. So how are we going to do that? So in this case, there's actually two levels of bundling that we propose. We being me, Sailesh, all of us here in this room, we've all been working on this together for years and years. So this is just an encapsulation. But think of veganism as a basic component, a part of the puzzle of Together Around Food. And and Sailesh summarized it very well in terms of what are the goals: end hunger, end malnutrition, get the world to go vegan, build community. And I actually look at it all as a spiritual transformation as well. So Together Around Food really encompasses a lot of things, including veganism. And that in turn, Together Around Food becomes the centerpiece of the big puzzle as regards solutions, which is the poly solution. So let's look at architecture and strategy for the poly solution. It's very, very simple. So imagine you're looking bird's eye view at a whole bunch of dominoes, okay? Now, the domino on top is what I call a double wide domino. And the idea is that if we push that big double wide domino over, it'll knock over these two rows of dominoes. So why are there two rows of dominoes? So think of all these dominoes as the poly solution, just ready to happen, but we need to make it happen, hence the pushing over of the dominoes. And within the poly solution, each domino is a solution. The one at the top is the lead solution, which is together around food, because it's the most basic, it's the most fundamental, right? Before we can talk about, cooling the planet with this or that, or, rewilding, or all these weird, all these things that are kind of far and away from most people and most people's consciousness, we start with the thing that is the most important. Anyway, Sailesh summed this up quite well, but here's how I see it: is veganism plus feed everyone for free the healthiest possible food, build community, spiritual transformation, and the beginning of the grand mission. What's the grand mission? To solve the poly crisis and thus save and heal life on Earth. So together around food becomes the first solution. Now, the dominoes below it on the left are solutions focused primarily on the planet, okay? And of course, together around food, getting the world to go vegan is the number one thing we can do to solve our planetary problems. Together around food is also the primary solution for those solutions focused on people. So Together Around Food, of course, addresses both planet and people. The other solutions focused on the planet, rewild the planet, which depends on Together Around Food. We need to go vegan before we can rewild the planet. We need to eliminate animal agriculture and then turn all that land back to nature. Cool the planet, rewilding cools the planet, but there's also other things that we need to do, I believe, to cool the planet in time to save life on Earth. Clean the planet, and then et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So these are kind of the big four solutions in terms of focusing on the planet. On the people side, after food is number one. So Together Around Food is number one for both planet and people. After feeding, making sure everyone is fed, the next highest priorities are, of course, shelter, community, healthcare. And interestingly, two of those three, community and healthcare, are addressed by Together Around Food. The best thing you can do for your health is preventative health. And the best thing you can do for preventative health is to eat whole food, plant-based diet. So here's the whole of the poly solution. Look at the beautiful order. We knock over the first domino, and the rest of the dominoes will tumble, both on the people side and on the planet side. All right. Well, thank you for indulging me on those slides. And let me find my mouse here. There we go. Okay. Could somebody do the stop sharing for some reason? Oh, stop keynote sharing. Yes. If somebody could do that for me, that'd be great. Because I've got some. Thank you. There you go. Awesome. Yeah. So again, just to recap, we've got this hodgepodge of problems and a hodgepodge of solutions, and people are promoting solutions and people are talking about problems, and it's too much. Our circuits are fried, right? So again, we just focus on me and mine, myself, my family, perhaps some friends, and the rest of the world will just have to sort itself out. It's too much. By putting these things in order, declaring a polycrisis emergency, and I'm still gung-ho. We looked back in February and March, we looked at, hey, Sailesh, maybe you can do this at Oxford. And so we put out some feelers. Can we do a press conference in Oxford? Imagine doing a press conference at Oxford University where Sailesh declares a planetary polycrisis emergency. Think about it for a moment. Who has the authority to declare a planetary polycrisis emergency? Potentially heads of state, potentially the Pope, but all these people are very constrained politically, right? Sailesh, our leader, I maintain, is the best person in the world to hold a press conference with support from all of us and other leaders and whatnot, a whole big press conference. But he takes the lead and declares a planetary polycrisis emergency, and then shows the whole order, the bundling, the structure of every single planetary crisis constituting the polycrisis. And then suddenly, now the world can focus on a single concept, the polycrisis, no longer a hodgepodge. One integrated, bundled polycrisis. Okay, now we can begin to deal with it because there's finally some order. It's bounded. See, part of the issue of the world's problems today is they're unbounded. There's no end to it. There's no limit to it. It's like you hear about a new problem every single day that you open up the New York Times, another new problem I didn't even know about. Oh my goodness, it's endless. And I see we got some hands up, and I just want to kind of finish my little monologue here in a couple of minutes, and we can turn it into a nice conversation. But then, see, and then once people are in that moment of ordered crisis, they can see the crisis, it's bundled, they can make sense of it. Now we come in with the poly solution. Now that's a big hodgepodge of solutions finally put into order. People, planet, and the number one lead solution solves most of our problems. Not all of our problems, just most of them. And so this gives people hope. It's like, wait a second, if we can take out half of the poly crisis with just one solution, imagine what we can do with a number of solutions, well organized, well orchestrated. And we have, as far as I'm concerned, the world's preeminent systems engineer at the lead of all this, who's our leader of Vegan World 2026. And so who better than Sailesh to present both of these, a declaration of polycrisis emergency and a proclamation of poly solution, right? Anyway, really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all today. Let's go ahead and take some questions. And Sailesh, if you want to lead the...
Thank you, Jim. That was great.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Vegan Jyoti. Then,
Oh, great. Thank you, Dr. Rao. Thank you, Jamin. Great presentation. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak here. I was just wondering if we need to revisit our strategy from an operational perspective. I know I've been attending many of these seminars for quite a while, for several years. I'm not sure if I'm seeing any movement, positive progression towards a vegan world. And I wonder if we need to change our strategy from an operational perspective to more individualizing, as to having micro shifts from people who can not give us 100%, but only give us, let's say, 10%, because overall, we don't have monopoly of Microsoft to bundle everything together so that our Excel becomes, the carte blanche of productivity software. So should we
let me answer
individualize?
that.
Just hang on a second. Hang on a second. Let me finish my thought. So should we individualize our strategy so that people can make these micro shifts so that we get that 3% of the momentum we need to have a movement like a Cockroach Janta Party is able to get that?
Yeah, good question.
I hope you're following Cockroach Janta Party, how fast they're able to build up a momentum. We need to have that momentum built up, and we haven't been in our echo chambers in these PowerPoint slides. I don't think we have accomplished what Cockroach Janta Party has able to do it in a few days.
Yeah, no, good question. Now, the Together Around Food initiative that we did, we basically threw it open to anyone to attend. So there was no restriction that you have to eat here and you cannot go eat anywhere else. People who are coming and eating sometimes, some people are coming all the time, some people are coming sometimes. So it's not that we are forcing anyone to be vegan, right? It was just giving them healthy vegan food. Now, what that did was people started thinking that, they're part of this larger picture, because they showed them the larger picture of what is Planet B, how they're part of the poly solution, right? Or the complete poly solution. And people got inspired. Now they want to do it themselves. They want to continue themselves. So what we want to do is now take this to the UN. So the Loving Earth team is now coming to the UN, and we are doing it Together Around Food for all the delegates of the UN. Okay. And we are basically going to show them that people want it. And the people in America want it. Okay. And we are getting requests from all kinds of cities now. Hey, can you come and do it here? And we're saying, look, guys, you already have everything you need to do that yourself. But yeah, we have to probably do a few more of these to show people that it can be done anywhere. Right. So that's the next step, to create this movement of that it catches fire. So we got requests from neighboring cities. We got requests from Chicago, from Dallas. I mean, all kinds of places we are getting requests, Los Angeles, to come and do the Together on Food there. So it's inspiring people to take this forward like that. Yeah. Bram?
Yes, this is sort of on a micro scale. We are doing something here. We have this exhibit, which is more a scientific way of doing the whole cycle through. And what we have in there, we want to have a discussion with some people from Dartmouth, and maybe Bill McKibben, I don't know, would come there on an evening. And we put down there one part about the fossil fuels, as one part, which is one solution possible. And then our solution, which is all the rest, which we have there. And it is interesting that we got actually to open this exhibit. We had the senator from Becca White, very young person, very enthusiastic, and she is, I think, partially vegan. And, so we want to actually exhibit will be over in August, end of August. So maybe we'll try to do that in Montpelier, in the capital of Vermont, and maybe show it there in one of the Senate's sessions or so, if possible, if they want to allow it. I don't know, but it's too progressive probably. But it's a way of starting a little bit on the organization of, and Vermont is pretty open, although it's all cows, which we have still, but it's not working anymore. So people are not, you see, they can't live on it anymore, on having a farm with animals. It's just impossible anymore.
Right.
You need more and more cows to make it profitable. Okay.
Right.
Thank you. It was a wonderful presentation, both of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bram. Thank you for the work you're doing too. It's very important that we put these things out everywhere. And just like you are experiencing in the community we went to in Washington State, the county commissioners were completely supportive of what we were doing.
Yeah.
And then after we left, the people went to the commissioners' meeting and asked that they help continue this. And the commissioner said, yes, we will be happy to help you. So, there's momentum building, bringing the government or institutions also on board, because, people are seeing that things are not getting sorted out in the old model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so obvious.
So obvious now. It's everywhere. I'm in the UK and it's sweltering heat now.
Yeah, yeah. I should mention that Lisa Burke was very helpful in doing all the presentations in it. So that,
And I know Ray Kowalczyk, it's a team effort. It's everything we do is a team effort.
Yeah. And Bieke gives make it more simple, make it simple, and make it more for common people, because they say it's too scientific. Well, okay. But I can't do anything else, I think. Thank you.
In terms of simplicity, I know we got a couple people with their hands up, but in terms of simplicity, here's the thing. So veganism can feel complicated to people. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to change my diet. I can't go to barbecues anymore. I turn my life upside down. But Together Around Food is simple, gourmet, delicious. Now it happens to be whole food, plant-based, But at that point, who cares? People are together having a party and feeling very satisfied and very happy and very healthy. So so instead of trying to push veganism, we just do together around food. Serve it up. It's all there. Anyway, passing the feather. I know James, you've had your hand up for a while. James and company.
That's you.
Oh, hi,
Yeah.
I'm Debbie. Do you have any methods for reaching the people who might be a little interested, but have the normalcy bias? Oh, things aren't really going to get that bad. And then also, do you envision or hold that there's a tipping point where at some point in time, the dominoes start to fall towards?
Right. Now, certainly that's how systems transform. A lot of nonlinear systems, they have tipping points beyond which it just becomes normal. The other side becomes normal. And so it's, of course, the current system is pushing, trying to prevent it from happening. Like even in Washington State, when we were doing the Together Around Food, we wanted to go to a bigger space. There was a bigger space available, but it was controlled by the animal agriculture industry, literally. And they didn't want us to come. So anyway, we encountered it already. But despite that, the county commissioner supported us. Continue to, because we are coming there with a solution, and we are not doing anything. We are coming and feeding people healthy food.
And in terms of a tipping point, so just consider this. And of course, I spent a lot of time thinking about hungerless in Seattle, and I still want to do hungerless. We still want to do hungerless in Seattle. Once we do it, right, we do it in one neighborhood, and then that neighborhood transforms. Crime plummets, emergency room visits drop, violence drops, domestic violence. Why? Because people are finally taken care of in so many different ways, as we've talked about in detail. Now, just imagine that we were able to do this in the whole city of Seattle. The city of Seattle has a multi-billion-dollar budget. There's big expenses for healthcare, law enforcement, social work, this and that. They're spending gobs of money. When we do this at scale for all of the city of Seattle, with centralized production of the food, we saw the beautiful images in Port Townsend, but imagine a much larger, essentially food factory. And we just need to get over any negative connotations we have with factory and doing things at scale. We can do amazing quality at scale. We do it. There's 78 neighborhoods in Seattle. If we supply community cafes, churches, community centers with all the food they need for 3 meals a day, just like we did in Jefferson County, but now in King County, where Seattle is located, suddenly the costs of healthcare, ambulance rides, emergency room visits, amputations from diabetes, health, law enforcement, crime, vandalism, domestic violence, et cetera, all those plummet, and the costs to the city and the county and the state and federal, all those costs diminish. And basically, if we take a slice of those savings, we can fund all of Together Around Food with a fraction of the savings. Now, part of the reason this is that we'll be able to buy whole truckloads of produce and other whole food plants by the truckload. And when you buy stuff by the truckload, the unit cost collapses almost to zero. So we can do this incredibly economically. So if suddenly the city of Seattle is seeing this huge bump in return on investment, reduction in costs, increase in health and happiness and community and connectivity and everything else, all the other cities around the world will be watching Seattle's example and say, we got to do this. And suddenly you'll see the dominoes tumble all around the world. Passing the feather. Thank you.
Sujata?
Thank you. Thank you for a wonderful presentation and also the passion. I really think you need to have both to be able to make a change. And one of the things that struck me is as human beings, we will not change much unless we wake up to being like really compassionate. Compassion is important. And I think people just put a blind eye to everything because it's easier to do that. And sometimes, I mean, even in India, Sailesh, whenever I go, you feel like there's more and more people who weren't eating meat, actually eating meat on a daily basis. And it's alarming because I remember as a child, we used to have neighbors who were, cooking maybe meat once a month or once a week, every Sunday. So because we could get the smell, right? And we being like more vegetarian, we could tell like that something is happening on Sundays. But now it's pretty much all over, right? From breakfast to dinner. And obviously people are not consciously thinking about it because there are so many vested interests.
Yeah.
People like, the companies, like, you've showcased in many of these movies, which, if you look at it properly, common sense will tell you this is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, also, it is scary for people, I think, to just suddenly overnight change, right? So I think this together around food is actually very good because I'm a architect and city planner, urban designer, so I come from a different background. Community building is actually very important in everything, right? So together around food is actually community building,
right?
And showing that it's not difficult, to do it if more people join together. And
thank you, Sujata. Is there a question that, because we're getting to the top of the hour?
I want to ask.
Please do, because we're at the top of the hour already. But
sorry. Yes. I'm a teacher.
That's great. That's wonderful. If there is anybody out there that would like to have a question and share
the question I want to ask is, if you go into the Vedantic world and actually look, this tells you that you need to do it. It's your duty.
Mm-hmm.
If you bring those two together, probably this would become easier to be solved.
Yeah, I agree with you. The Methodist Church wanted to volunteer. So it's like, you have to get some of the spiritually oriented people to come and help volunteer. And that's the way I see it growing. Thank you for that.
That's a really great contribution, and of course the insight of in terms of the motivation in which why we do it is really important to address. I think there's so many questions that can come out of it. I'm sure if there's anybody else who have questions about this an amazing initiative that's been so successful, how can they reach you? Can they reach you on email? Can they put it on the chat? Yeah, message you directly? Like, how can they do that?
Yeah, they can message me directly or Jamin. So I'll put my email in the chat.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. That was amazing. That's an amazing initiative. I mean, there's lots of positivity to come out there. I'm really excited for the next steps and outcomes.
The earth is calling soft and clear, not with judgment, not through fear. She whispers through the wind and trees, remember who you're meant to be. We are not divided souls, but living parts of greater wholes. Every heart, every nation holds a piece of worldwide resolution. We have remedies beyond survival, beyond the stories of denial. 1,000 pathways join as one. The healing has already begun. We have the remedy for compassion, revolution. with loving kindness, hand in hand. Together we restore the land. True nature lives in every seed, in every generous word and deed. The rivers, forests, skies and seas reflect the peace we choose to breathe. Spiritual embodiment, a living sacred testament, not escaping from this earth, but honoring her endless worth. Sacred restoration, hearing every generation. The birthright to existing in freedom, shared by every life beneath the sun. Beyond our borders, beyond our names, love burns brighter than our blame. From every culture, every shore, we discover what we're living for. We have the remedy for compassion revolution, peaceful cooperation, a worldwide resolution. Loving guidance in our hands, healing hearts across the lands, living fully in our true nature, choosing love instead of danger. Sacred restoration, hope for humanity, loving kindness rising free, a future we were born to see. The answers bloom in every heart when fear and separation part. The earth remembers, so